The first note of Twinkle Twinkle began with the C note and ended again on the C note. In other words, this melody began and ended on the tonic note. In the solfeggio system, the tonic is also called do. The first note of Mary Had a Little Lamb began on the E note but ended on the C note. In other words, this melody began on the third degree of the major scale and ended on the tonic. In the solfeggio system, the melody began on Mi. We have Do, Re, Mi, right? And ended on the tonic, Do. If we were to use the number system, we can say we began on 3 and ended on 1. London Bridge began on G, which happens to be the fifth degree of the major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or fifth degree is also called Sol in the solfeggio system, and ended on the tonic, Do. Happy Birthday, this melody began on the G note. Okay, now the only difference is that this G note is an octave lower to the G note where the melody of London Bridge began. The last note of Happy Birthday is again the tonic Do. The melody of London Bridge began above the tonic. The only difference is the melody of Happy Birthday began below the tonic note. Now the last melody that I'm going to use here is Country Garden. It again begins from Do, but this time it begins from the Do, which is one octave above the tonic note. So again you see the melody ended on Do. We are noticing an interesting pattern so far. Every melody in the scale somehow ends on the tonic note. Now, what if the composer did not want to end a melody on Do? What will happen? Now, let's listen to Twinkle Twinkle and see what happens. Supposing I play a phrase. I did not end on Do. How did that feel? Well, it felt incomplete, right? In musical language, it felt unresolved. On the other hand, when the melody ended on Do, it felt complete and satisfying. And so, in musical language, it felt resolved. It is that moment that we feel like we have finally arrived home. It is that moment when your audience listening to you know that they can now clap. So let us look at the starting notes of each of the melodies. So far, each melody began either from C, E or G. 1, 3, 5 if we use the scale degrees, or if we use the solfege language, it starts either on Do, Mi or Sol. Now, what is special about these notes C, E, G? Now, if you remember carefully, these are the notes that form the C major chord, as we discussed earlier in the previous lesson. Therefore, we can conclude that every melody begins on Do, Mi, or Sol. It could be a Do which is up an octave, or it could be a Sol below the tonic. It could be Mi below the tonic. But we always end on the Do note, the last note that brings us home, that makes the melody feel complete. On a side note, there are exceptions to this rule as well, okay? But for now, just imagine that every melody should start on Do, Mi, Sol, and it has to end on Do.